Okay, so good afternoon, and today what we're going to do is to talk about the last, let's say, topic of this course, which is also something you will consider for the case study that you will start tomorrow, and that will be the last exercise of the course. And that will be the case study on conversational agents as a technology, as a way of interacting with AI, which you can prototype in these few hours that are missing in this course, trying to apply what we covered, both especially in the last lecture with Tommaso. So the idea of today is that I will give you a short introduction to conversational agents and voice user interface with some definition and terms, and then I will show you a couple of prototypes of software application that you can use, start with, to create your own conversational agents, which will be something you will do, again, tomorrow onwards. So let me start with a little bit of background on voice and speech, as this assistant can either be interacted with via voice and speech, but also via text, normal. So the first thing is, what's the difference between voice and speech? If there is a difference.
Voice is like the AI talks, speech is if I talk.
No. Voice and speech are both referring to humans, can be both referring to humans. So what's the, like in general, if you look at a dictionary, voice and speech, they are not synonyms, they are different.
Speech is more about communicating, and voice is more general because you're saying.
Yes. Who was saying something?
There's no words in voice necessarily.
Yes, there is no words in voice necessarily. So it's more general. So voice is also a sound that can emit with my voice, and speech instead is a structured way of communicating, relying on some languages, with rules, with grammar, etc., etc. So that's the main difference. So when we talk about voice user interface, we typically talk about speech-based voice interface, as we don't interact with, I don't know, conversational agents saying ha-ha, or This is still voice, but it's not speech. So voice, from a human perspective, voice is quite efficient as an input modality because it allows us to give commands to computer quickly, to communicate each other very easily. And speech instead is language dependent. If you don't understand English, and I'm talking in English, then you will not understand the meaning of what I'm saying. And it may be ambiguous, as we have lawyers indeed. For technology, fully understanding of natural language remains dreams for now. Fully understanding of natural language, but voice and speech interaction became mainstreams recently. Just not think about ChatGPT and similar, but also think about Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa, and all that kind of application. And if we think about those specific applications, we can notice that they simulate natural language interaction at different level, at different extent. But one characteristic is that they require a restricted set of spoken command that user have to learn and remember. This is not true with like ChatGPT, Claude, and similar, but if you think to like Amazon Echo, Siri, etc., at the moment, they understand mostly some specific command that you say. So you cannot say whatever you want, but you have to learn what to say and what they can reply in a consistent way, which is a limitation of this kind of application as well. When we talk about voice-based interaction, we, from a computer perspective, talk about two distinct processes, with an optional third one in the middle. The first one is what's called speech recognition, which is getting a speech in a language and converting it in text in the same language. And the vice versa is speech synthesis, which is given a text in a given language, I obtain the speech, the sound of it in the same language. These are the minimum required things for a voice-based interaction. There is no need under this perspective of understanding of the language, of the text. But what happens in this kind of voice-based interaction is that you have a speech, you say something that's converted in text with some degree of accuracy, something happens, we don't know, and then at the moment, and then you have, if you want to have an answer, you have the text produced by the system converted back in speech for you to listen to. And what happens in the middle could be very simple, very complicated. Could go from simple, if the text contain this word, then reply in this way. So very deterministic. It's not a natural language understanding or processing, it's just pattern matching. There is the word room, and then something happens. There is the word where, and then something happens. Very stupid level of things, just matching keywords. Or you can have things a little bit more complex in the realm of natural language understanding or processing that can allow you to understand more the structure, the semantic of a sentence, and then you can have things like language model, where there is more complex understanding of the context of the sentence, etc. But voice-based interaction is what you have, for instance, in Google Translate. In Google Translate, you can do speech recognition and speech synthesis. So that's voice-based interaction. There is no, of course, understanding. There is no context. I'm saying something and in a language, and then I can have it in another language, and then I can hear the sound of the word in this other language. That's still voice-based interaction. It's very basic, but it's voice-based interaction. Which are the opportunities for voice-based interaction? It's actually useful in some cases, and there are problems in other cases. And here there is some opportunities, some positive moments in which voice-based interaction is actually interesting. Like I have some physical impairment. It could be temporary even, and I cannot write on a keyboard or move a mouse. So I can rely on voice. I can rely on other input modalities for a computer to do things. I can use speech interaction when my hands are busy. I'm driving and I'm talking to, I'm cleaning the house, I'm talking to start the music. So that could be when it's convenient to have voice interaction. As well, when mobility is required, if I need to move, I cannot stay close to a computer, I cannot type, but I can go around and still talk. It's also useful when the speaker's eyes are occupied. I need to focus on something else, so I cannot type and look what I'm doing, but I can talk. While I'm looking there, I can still talk to you. These are separate, in a way, processes for us. We are able to look in a place and talk to other people. Maybe it's not nice, but we can. Again, when there is a preclusion of a keyboard, especially the normal, the standard way of interacting when the domain vocabulary and the task is limited, again, without thinking of language models. If you have a fixed number of activities, then it's quite convenient because I don't have to put a lot of understanding behind this. And of course, is useful also, can be useful also when the person we want to interact with is unable to write or read. Like for children. They learn to talk before they learn to read full paragraph, full sentences, or write full paragraph and full sentence in a correct grammar. There are, of course, obstacles. Now, let's think about some obstacles of voice-based interaction. Which could be these obstacles? just not to have me talking for too long.
Physical impairment.
Hmm?
Physical impairment.
Physical impairment that impede you to talk, of course. Then, if you cannot hear, let's move on from physical impairments. Different language. I have a system that understands Italian. I'm talking Spanish, so there will not be communication possible.
Places where you need to be quiet.
Places where you need to be quiet or noisy environment. Imagine to have something in the middle of a bar, of a restaurant, and you need to interact with this, but people are talking, chatting, and that will be lower the quality of the understanding of the text that is generated.
Misunderstanding of some words.
Misunderstanding of some words due to the technology. Anything else? Otherwise, we look at the slide.
If you are eating or
If you're eating, you should not talk with while you're eating. So yes, interference from noisy environment and poor quality microphones. That could be another. If we talk about, again, things like Alexa or similar, you need to learn commands and you need to remember commands specifically to say and to obtain the answer you want. Recognition may be challenging by strong accent or unusual vocabulary. Like Irish person talking English to something that is trained or American English, it's challenging for speech to text part, not for the understanding part. When talking is not acceptable because you should be quiet, or because it's shared meeting, shared office, you are doing a meeting, or you are in a class and you need to interact with a voice-based interaction, but I'm talking, so you are creating noise for the environment. And for privacy issues as well, error correction. How do you correct something that you said after you said it to a technology, to a piece of technology? To a person, how do you correct something to a person? When talking to a person. What's the weather? If I say, what's the weather in Milan? Ah, no, I meant in Rome. That's correction, no? This doesn't work for many voice-based interaction. They will just stop at Milan and skip the ah, no, I meant in Rome. So error correction can be time-consuming. I need to rephrase the entire sentence most of the time if I made a mistake. Or if the system doesn't understand and provide me a wrong answer, I need to repeat, maybe slightly different. There is an increased cognitive load compared to typing or pointing with a mouse, because you need to remember what you are saying, and you need to remember the answer, and then if you need to follow up, there is a lot of things to remember. You don't have any cue in the environment that helps you with that. Some operations are difficult without extreme customization, like complex mathematical operation. There is a slow pace of speech output compared to visual displays. You can grasp more information on visual display than in a shorter time than the same information spoken by a system. Speech is lower than seeing. And then there is the ephemeral nature of speech that is not consistent, did not remain, is not consistent, is not fixed. So how do you design conversational interaction with whatever system you're imagining? And the simplest one, the one like, again, Siri and similar, or ChatGPT. Whatever you are in this spectrum, you typically have these 6 phases from a creator perspective, from a designer perspective. you have an initiation phase. You say something, you press a button, something happens, you click something. None of the system at the moment is for to be proactive, start on their own. It's always need the person saying something or doing something. Or there should be some activity happening and then the system start working, but they don't start working on their own at the moment. Then, again, depending what you are using, you should know what to say. Again, if we think about Siri, Alexa, you have to know exactly what they can understand, what they can cover, they can reply, etc. And learnability is one of the main issues of this technology. Then there are recognition errors on the speech-to-text phase. They may happen due, again, to noise, to accent, to whatever, like in English, dime or time, according to the accent, or the speed in which you are talking, that could be confused. Correcting errors, it's a phase. We should design for errors. And correcting errors is something we should take care of in some modalities. Then we have a mapping to what is said to any possible action. So what's the weather in Milan tomorrow? What's the action that you expect the system will give me? Search the forecast and tell me the weather. So mapping to a possible action, what's the weather? Searching for the forecast for the city for tomorrow. And then if it doesn't get the city or tomorrow, point 4, correcting errors. Okay, I meant Milan and tomorrow, not today. And then I will see another answer. And then, after checking on the weather forecast, feedback and dialogue, where the system can tell me tomorrow will be cloudy in Milan, for instance. And the feedback and dialogue is also useful for recover from errors or if the person doesn't know what to say. So let's stay on the weather forecasting. What happens if I ask, imagine you are conversational agent, we want to talk about the weather. That's our topic, the weather. If I ask you, what's the weather? What's the answer? Where? That will be one answer, and then we'll say in Turin. When, and when could be the other part of the. So these are, if we talk about the weather, it could be the request, could be where, and could be when. It's today, it's now, it's this evening, is here, is in Rome, is in Barcelona, is in whatever. That's one way of seeing things. Alternatives. That's the more like conversational approach, right? I want all the information laid out. What's the weather? Where? City? When? Time? Day? Whatever. That's the most conservative approach. I want all the information with me to provide an answer. What could be another approach?
Just assume that it's now and here.
Assumptions. If it's not specified, I can assume that it's here and now. So what's the weather in Turin today? If the answer is what's the weather? And variation. I could have a system that assume that the place is fixed if it's not specified, which is here, but not the time. Or vice versa, I can have a system that assume that if it's not specified the when is today, and the where needs instead always to be specified. These are assumptions that the designer does. And how, if you imagine a pure voice conversational system, how do you know which of the three options that we elicited is the right one, is the implemented one, is the working one? You don't know. Which is, again, the problem. Learnability is one of the main issues of technology that we mean natural language. Because they don't have a way to tell you, you can ask this way. So you discover what's the weather. If you get when and where, you understand that. If you get an answer, today is cloudy in Torino, you will understand that both parts are assumption. But all of these are part of these steps to be designed. Starting from how you initiate this conversation to the conversation per se, the dialogue, the feedback, etc. So let's move to conversational agent. That's just in general, whatever they are. Conversational agents, let me exclude ChatGPT for the moment and family, are typically voice user interface. They're called voice user interface, even if they are speech-based. And of course, they are the interface we talk about, like you can interact with them hands-free, eyes-free, and you speak with them, and they will understand. What's the difference to you between voice user interface and conversational user interface? If you think whatever you have on your phone, is that more a voice user interface or a conversational user interface? Pick one. Siri is a voice user interface. First answer. Siri is a voice user interface to him. Yes, they are mostly voice user interface for the reasons. So Siri is, for instance, a very specific voice user interface. Maybe Google with Gemini will be better now. But yes, the difference is that conversational versus voice, there are two differences. One is conversation include whatever means of a conversation, not just voice, not just speech, also text. Texting with a chatbot, writing is not a voice user interface because you're writing, but it's a conversational, could be a conversational user interface. And the other one is that should mimic a conversation with humans, which is something this system doesn't do. They don't really converse with you. It's more, I ask something, you got me an answer. And if you don't understand something, I will ask details for understanding what's the weather, where, there, when, now, etc. And then it stops. It's more question and answer than a conversation that evolve, that can have a thread, that can space on different topics and subtopics. Good. And contemporary voice user interface can actually be divided in three main categories. Screen first, voice only, and voice first. Example. I think you all have experience of the first one, maybe of the second one as well. Or the third one, depends. But the first one should be, what could be a voice user interface that is screen first? The one on the phone. It's not a voice user interface per se. I have a phone, which in addition has a voice user interface, but they are thought to be used with a screen, mainly with a screen. I don't know if I have a picture after, which is the majority happens in a screen-first device. So the way those devices are thought are, you have to look at the screen. You have to read, you have to look at picture. And then yes, you can talk with it, but that's secondary. There are limitations like missing functionality, poor use of screen, and also missing affordances. And here there are two examples. One from Siri, quite old, now it's a little bit better, but it's you start something by voice, and then there is things you cannot interact with via voice, or an answer is not by voice. It's just you click a link and then open a web browser, and is also purely done from a visual perspective, the Siri one especially. Google Assistant is better in this, but still is not really a conversation. I ask something by voice, and I get an answer, which is a link that I need to open on a web browser or in another app. So moving away from the speech part, because they are screen first. Well, and then Siri was also terrible in using space on screen to write a message, just a lot of empty space for nothing. And they were also totally different from the traditional version of sending messages. Now again, it's improved, but a few years ago that was the standard for Siri. Voice-only device. Alexa, you have seen it. So the Alexa, the Google Assistant, that doesn't have a screen, right? No display at all. These kind are no display at all. And the only way to communicate is audio. Audio is for input and for output, and then Alexa and Google Assistant have some, Google Home has some feedback lights that are very, very tiny as feedback. It's allow hands-free operation for the context of use that they are imagined for, which is at home. They have quite good accuracy in speech recognition if you don't mix different languages in a sentence. And you have, of course, no visual affordances, but only auditory signal. Sounds or speech, again. Limitation. They are prolix in the answer most of the time. Again, you have to know what to say. Maybe you can ask what's the weather in, but not many variation of this. Will it be sunny in Milan tomorrow? Will it work? Will it not work? It's the same thing, is what's the weather? I want to know what's the weather. But the answer is different. Is no, will be cloudy. Or yes, will be sunny. Still weather forecasting, but phrased in a different way. Some operations are challenging, like once a timer setup, the user can only ask how much time is left or to stop the timer, but you can say move the timer from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. You have to stop it and recreate. And if you ask for a weekly weather forecast or what's on TV today, or tell me the 10 recipe from Giallo Zafferano, that will be a memory test. Because that will be a lot of information you have just to listen to. And some action, of course, are not allowed or expected, like inserting a password via voice. This doesn't really make sense. And if there are options, you cannot hear all available options you can insert because there will be too many. So there's a limitation of voice-only device, and that's why they also created voice-first device, which are the same as before, but with a screen. Because the idea is that you primarily communicate with that via voice, via speech, but since audio output for long information is actually a memory test, you put a screen so you can see things in a quicker way, in an easier way, etc. And of course, the graphical user interface is less capable than the one of smartphone, but still is a screen you can rely on. And typically displays also a touch screen, and the focus is still on voice, but you can do other things like pausing a song or going to the next, or seeing the text, the lyrics of a song, something that in the voice-only interface you cannot. So these are the three main characteristics. So what's important, especially for the last exercise, is that you keep in mind these three categories of device, because when you need to prototype, create a conversational agent, would you imagine it to have a screen or be purely textual, etc.? And especially you remember these steps. What do you have to do to create a conversational interaction? So you have to start, maybe you need to know what to say, and you have to give some hints to the person to know what to say, etc., etc. The issue of errors, and so on. Now, questions so far? How can we design these conversational agents and their interface? Given the things that happen that we have seen, the limitation, there are actually guidelines and a recommendation to how to do things, either provided by like Amazon for Amazon Alexa. It tells you if you have more than 10 things, you can split in multiple pages. Just not to have this enormous long list of information. But creating a conversation user interface is similar to learn a foreign language for a person, both for the user and for who creates the system. Because there are things to remember, specific way to say sentences that otherwise doesn't work, and so on. And these systems are easily learned through immersion. And voice-first devices have an advantage of this. Why they have an advantage of this? Why they can help me learn what to say through immersion easily, the things in the picture, the voice-first interface.
Because they can reinforce what he's saying with images or text.
Yes, they can reinforce, but if I want to learn, it's also in the picture. There are suggestions. Try, Alexa, what's the weather in Seattle? So sometimes they give some tips. Oh, you are looking at the weather page automatically. If you want to know about the weather, you can ask this. Oh, do you want a recipe? It's noon. You can ask this. So they have a screen and they can provide suggestions. So you can, looking at it, learn something new every day. That's immersion. You use the device, and from time to time you learn a small sentence that may be useful for you. Or they say, try, Alexa, give me 3 jokes, or today jokes, or a riddle. And you maybe try, and you get a terrible riddle, and you move on. Successful example on voice-first device in which they use the screen also to help this is sequential numbering of search results. You ask the top 10 recipe, and then you maybe see the 10 recipe with a number. And so if you want more detail, you can say, tell me more about 3. So you don't have to remember all the things, but you see and complement this. Randomly show new speech commands like this, and visual content that is interactive, like to stop, pause, music, go to the next song, etc., that are already there, commands to click. As we said already in the first lecture, when people talk with this system, they most of the time have unrealistic expectation, because since you can talk with it, then it's like having a natural conversation with a human being, which is not, for the reason we said. So people typically expect to talk with a person, have the same level of understanding of a person, but this doesn't happen, and this can create frustration if it's not set expectation correctly from the creator of the system. In designing user interface, in creating interactive system, the golden rule is never blame the user. It's always the creator, the designer, the developer problem, not the user. Other way to say, if I cannot use it, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter if it works technically. If I cannot use it, it doesn't work. It's another extreme way to say this. So how to design conversational user interface, keeping in mind that list of elements you need. So the first things you have to do, and the first thing you will have to do, is of course asking if is the conversation, if it's the voice, the right fit. Is the best way to solve this interaction or not? Like people already speaks about those things, then maybe that's a good hint that they will continue to speak about it. Is the interaction brief? If it's brief, then could be a voice, could be a good candidate. If the interaction is half an hour, then maybe not voice. Will a graphical user interface require multiple taps, clicks to perform the same action? So it would be more complicated to do it graphically or vocally. People can do this while doing other things. If they can, then voice could be a good thing because they will use their hands and their attention to other more maybe important things to do. So given a specific domain, it's not written here, but given a specific domain, like weather forecasting or movie recommendation or whatever, emergency, health emergency, etc., is a good idea to give like the let's say emergency on the street from a health perspective. It's a good idea to give them the operator that are there for helping the person from the ambulance, giving them a smartphone with a user interface where they have to click and tap, etc., or it's better to them to have something they can speak with, which is there are trade-offs. And for some things will be better, for some things will be not better. But if it is, then you can go with the conversational user interface. So given a topic, a domain, answering this question. If this question and similar question is yes, conversation is the right fit in this moment. Again, conversation could be also text, not necessarily voice. Then you need a clear picture of these other things. Who is communicating? That means who are your user? It's the people from the ambulance, is a random person that is calling the ambulance, is who they are. Even in that context, even in that domain, who are the person that they need to interact with this conversational system. What they are communicating about, and what they will be asked about. If you, again, that also depends who is communicating. If there are people from the ambulance, they will have a specific knowledge than the random person on the street will not typically have. So the kind of question, the kind of communication will be different. How they're communicating, by voice, by text, both, etc. And what's their context? Are they in a room, silent, calm, or they are, again, in the middle of a street with cars, in a highway with cars and a lot of noise. So all the context to be considered, not just the context, physical context, but also the emotional context as well. If we think, for instance, of ambulance and similar. Then you have to imagine the conversation. You have to write some simple dialogue of what will be this conversation between the person and or the people and the interactive system. And sketching a diagram of the conversation flow. So from this, so what's the weather? If it's missing the where, I will ask the where. If it's missing the when, I will ask the when. If none of them is missing, I will not ask anything. If it's missing just one, so a flow of conversation. What happened next? If there are missing information, if the information is incorrect, like what's the weather on the moon? There is a tomorrow. There is a place, there is a time, there is a day, but so I need to understand how the conversation can go. I need to provide answer in a specific way. So some sample dialogue help you to understand, like what's the weather in Rome tomorrow, and then what's the weather. These are simple dialogue for the weather forecasting example, which is simple. And the conversation flow is what happens when. And you can start from key use case, you imagine specifically for the context that you have to evaluate different way of proceeding in this conversation. And when you do this, you can focus on the natural language conversation before considering any visual elements that you may have as a screen could be an addition for this. And actually the Google documentation gives you some example of this if you want some concrete example. So the starting point after deciding that you want to use conversational, to want to create a conversational user interface, and you have clear what's your context, what's your user, what you want to communicate about, what's the knowledge, etc., is writing down some dialogues in terms of the person will say this and the system will reply to this with this other answer. And if the person makes mistakes, then this is something that happens. So sample dialogues in a flow, focusing on the conversation first. So that's the starting point. Once you have these on paper, you can say, okay, now I can create it technically in some way. But at least I know that this is the starting point, this is the ending point, and these are the kind of conversations I have my system to support and to inspire. This is just, so there are 4 conversational frames that you can use, and the typical system use. The contemporary voice user interface was the first 2, but in humans communicating, these are the 4 conversational frame that people uses. There is control, play radio DJ from TuneIn, or for a person, can you please turn off the light? Better, turn off the light. Control. Delegating, which is similar to control, but is more general in a way that is asking for an outcome without specifying how to achieve. So instead of playing radio DJ from TuneIn, I can say play some jazz music. I don't care from where. It could be the jazz music radio, could be a playlist, it could be, I don't care, just music. In a human perspective, it could be press that button to turn off the light, controlling, or turn off the light. You can also go there with a hammer and destroy all the lights. That will be still turning off the light. And then there are 2 things that are not really adopted by voice user interface that are guiding and collaborating. Guiding is discussing the means to achieve a goal. It's like, I want to hear some music. How should I do? Give me suggestions. Guide me. So this is something that large language model can do. But again, if you think about Siri or Alexa, that's not something that happens. So I want to learn more about a conversational agent. How should I do? And then ChatGPT can give you a long list of things. It's guiding. But Siri and the others will not at the moment. Collaborating instead is something that not even this system can now do it properly, or should do maybe. That is collaborating, so mutually deciding on goals between both participants. So what should we do now? Let's discuss. What should we do? Where are we going to eat tonight? That's a discussion. That's collaboration towards a joint decision, where all the parties have a say and make part of this decision. So these are the basic conversational frame that you can also keep in mind in creating your interaction, your conversation. You can move more on the controlling part, giving commands, on the delegating, mixing the 2, adding some guiding, etc., etc. But these are the 4 main conversational frame in general for human beings. Okay, And then, of course, you can always look at the guidelines for human-AI interaction, which still apply for conversational agent, and the guidelines you have seen. You've met them last week with Tommaso. So these guidelines, similar guidelines. Okay. Any question from up to the moment? Because we move on the more technical part now. No? Okay. So to imagine we have designed our conversation like this, with a sample dialogue, etc., and we want to chat about movies, not about the weather. Let's change example. About movies. So what's the genre of Titanic? What's the cast of movie? So chat about movies. And that will be our use case. And I will show you two examples on how to do it in two different ways. One, two simple example that you can also reuse for your exercise that we start tomorrow. One is, let's say, the more traditional one, the Siri Alexa-like example, and the other one is the ChatGPT example. So let's start from the first one, which is more laborious, and you have more control on it. I will give you the code of this. There is already in the slides the link. So all of this is done with Python and web technologies. So if you don't know any of this, talk with the computer engineers in the room. And then Tommaso tomorrow will help as well if needed. Tomorrow and next week as well. So let's start from the first one, the Siri-like, the Alexa-like. How we can do this? Well, we have the speech-to-text part. That's easy. All computers have capability to do speech-to-text and text-to-speech. Nothing to add, nothing to change, just done by default. What we need, if we don't want to do, if the sentence contains the word where, then do this. If we want a little bit more understanding of natural language, we can use some natural language understanding platform that exists. Most of them are free, or at least free for some specific case like the one that we have. And all these platforms, which is the positive things, are focused on simplicity and abstraction, so you don't need deep knowledge on natural language understanding, nor programming knowledge, just to set up this platform. And this platform will allow you to set up a conversation with multiple variation of a sentence to provide an answer to that. Well, there are two main families of these, just to your knowledge. There are extension of products. If you have a Google Assistant, you can write an extension for Google Assistant to talk about the weather, the movie, in this case, or similar things for Amazon Echo. Or they have standalone service, that the one that we are going to use today. And one popular platform is this Rasa, which is also open source, and it's liked by developer, and we are not going to use it. The other one, which is this one, which is called Dialogflow, and is a platform from Google. And it's accessible to that link with any Google account, and the free version, which is called ES, is good enough for doing the whatever we need to do here. There is also a CX version, which is more complex, but you have to pay. It also has support for multiple language, also multiple language in the same kind of conversation. So you can have a conversation that starts in Italian and then switch to English and vice versa. And then, well, you can integrate it with a lot of programming language as well. To use this, we have to know some definitions. In Dialogflow, you create an application that they call an agent. that has entities and intents. Intents are a mapping between what the user say and what action should be taken by the agent, which means an intent is what's the weather in city day? It will be sunny. That's an intent. I have some sentences that are the source, that are what the people can say, what's the weather. It will be condition in city day. It will be sunny in Turin tomorrow. All these kind of sentences are all linked to one action, which is all these sentences. What's the weather in Turin tomorrow? It will be sunny in Turin tomorrow. And any variation of these are all linked to one action, which is searching for the weather forecast in Turin tomorrow. Same action, different sentences, bring to the same action, and bring to more or less the same answer. It will be cloudy tomorrow in Turin. So an intent is composed by these three parts. What the person say in terms of sentences, what's the weather in Turin tomorrow, like this. This is what the user say. The action, look for weather forecast, and an answer that it will be meteorological condition in city day. That is the response. And Dialogflow allow you to create custom intents, but also they have out-of-the-box intent, like for greetings, hi, and we'll get an answer appropriate for hi with no big action in it, but still you have some default intent. And then you have entities. Entities represent concept and serve for extracting parameter values from natural language input. What's the weather in Turin tomorrow? Which are the entities to you?
What?
No, which are the entities in this sentence?
Weather.
No. Concept, which we are creating a chatbot to talk about the weather. So it's all about the weather. It's not going to talk anything else about the weather. So the weather is not a concept that will vary because it's only about the weather. What's the weather in Turin tomorrow? Which are the parts that can change? Turin and tomorrow. These are two entities. One is an entity that is a place, a city, more specifically, if we phrase it in this way. And the other one is tomorrow, daytime. So you have to tag these things like, these are the things that people can say differently. So what's the weather in Turin tomorrow? What's the weather in Turin today? What's the weather in Milan in 3 days? Are all the same sentence. What change are the entities, the city and the time date. And should be created only for concepts that require actionable data. I need this information to ask the weather forecasting, the weather for a specific day, a specific city, so they are actionable. And luckily for us, Dialogflow has many predefined entities, like cities. It maps already all the cities in the world, and all the time, all the day, automatically. So you don't have to recreate anything listing all the possible cities that you have. And here there is, a simple example. We are going to try it, which is done with this technology. And to use it, if you want to use it on your computer after downloading it, you have to do two things. One, let me open it. One is, download it, first of all. The second thing is to pick this movieagent.zip, and put it on Dialogflow, and I will show you how, and also we will look at that Dialogflow per se. And the third thing is, since this is Google, you need a client secret. You need a file to put in the folder. It's not there at the moment, and it's pretty complicated actually. But these are the instructions step by step that will allow you to give a file that you put in the folder, and that's it. It will work. And this is the step by step done. For ChatGPT, we don't need many instructions because we rely on ChatGPT, on the knowledge on ChatGPT. Okay, so let me show you how these movie things work. I need to run it. Dialog for movies. This is already is ready to, on my computer is ready to work. Or it was before. Yes, it's very simple. It's minimal in a way, in the sense that has a bar here to write. There's a microphone also if you want to do speech to text. And it also does text to speech in the end. Today with a very terrible voice. I don't understand why, but it also works. I don't know if we will hear about it. But this is, again, talking about the movies plus normal greetings. So if I write hello, it say how you're doing in a chat style, and if we say what's the genre of movie. It doesn't understand the movie. Let's try with, oops. Because there is not an entity on movies on Dialogflow, and I created it manually, and probably Alien was not in that list. But let's say Titanic, that should be. And of course, the answer is totally, well, it depends, but it should be wrong. Because this does just understanding of the text. So the action is not querying the database of movies on the internet and give you back the correct answer. It's just placeholder. So whatever movie you say will probably say comedy or choice between comedy and something else. So it's pretty stupid from that perspective, but you will understand the test. So if we say instead, what's the weather, which is not a movie, it will say, can you say that again? Because of course we are not talking about movie, and this thing only talks about movie. Doesn't know anything else if not movie, and greetings you and whatever doesn't understand, we say you, sorry, did not understand. Okay? So it's stupid in behavior for how it works, but it can understand text, it can understand that Alien and Titanic are movie, well, Alien not in this moment, but Titanic is a movie, and asking the genre is different from, I don't remember if I also have, what's the cast of Titanic, I don't remember if I implemented it. No, but what is the length of Titanic? There is. So here there is a problem of mismatching between entities. And the Titanic say is 2 hours long, which is of course not, but is, again, random generation of like for comedy before. And how this is done? Well, this is just a user interface, nothing strange. How do you do this on Dialogflow? On Dialogflow, you go on Dialogflow, you log in, and you see these things here. I already have some agents done, but if you don't, you just create a new agent where you choose a language, a time zone, which is needed for if you have any time-related information to ask. And then you need a title here in agent name, and you create it, and that's it. And after you created it, you have here intents, entities, and so on. So intents, I'm not creating one. Intents, when you start an empty agent, you have the default fallback intent, a default welcome intent. The default welcome intent is the one that handles all the hello, hi, good morning, etc., and provide an answer that is coherent. And the default fallback is sorry, I didn't understand. So whatever is not in an intent below is providing question to understand the topic. And then I created 3 intents, and you can import them from the zip. One is about genre. So an intent page is structured in this way. Let me close this. So you have context, which is now empty. Context is if you need to do complex conversation and want, I don't know, ask the name of a person in a conversation and reply here like Titanic is comedy, comma, Luigi. You didn't ask about the name of the person here, you'd ask before. And so context is a way to share this information between intents. So if I want to share something here, here there is the movie, so I can say that I want to share the movie. And then any other intent can get the movie in the input and use it in the answers. So sharing information between intents. Most of the time will be empty. Events is, as I was saying to you before, conversational agents always start from a user input. The user is doing something. Events is when the user does something that is not speaking, pressing a button. You can link these, for instance, to a Telegram chatbot almost automatically. And so here, an event is when the user opens the chatbot for the first time. Then you can trigger an intent like writing something, like writing hello. That's an event. And then you have training phrases, which are example of possible sentences that are specific for this intent. And this intent is about genre, movie genre. And you see, these are the same topic. They all talk about what's the genre of movies, but just different way to say that, with different examples of movie. So what's the movie the story categorized as? Comedy. What's the kind of film is Titanic? Comedy, etc., etc. All the answer for this is around genre. And then in Dialogflow, you select in this way the entity. So when you want to select an entity, you can double click on the entity and then select which of the entity are. There are many default entity, like language, cover all the languages on the world. And then there is custom entities like movie, which is the one I created for the movie. And here there are a few movies, a few sentences with a few random movies. The more sentence you have, the easier it's easier for the system to understand that you are talking about the right things when the user writes something, especially if it's not in this list. This is how the system understands that you're talking about genre. Once the system understands you're talking about genre, you can also have some parameters, like movie, in this case, should be a mandatory parameter, like the where and the when before. So I can say that movie will appear here as soon as I select here once. I can say that it's required, and if it's not, if my question is, what's the genre? Question mark. The system will ask me, which movie? Or, I don't understand the movie, sorry, can you please say that? So I can say, Alien. And with this information, the intent will continue. See, all of these is just writing sentences here. And then, of course, at the end, you have the responses, which are fixed responses, where that dollar movie is the movie the person inserted at the beginning. So Titanic belongs to the sci-fi genre, it's drama, and comedy is the genre of Titanic. 3 options, you can write more, and they will be randomly selected. So this is the static, the stupid version, but Dialogflow supports this static version of answers. And then you can also try it here in this chatbot of Paddington is an example, so you should know. So you can try here, and of course the default response is random, one of the 3, but it show you that the intent is the right one. We're talking about genre, and there is a parameter that is the movie, and the value is Paddington. And if we ask what's the genre of Alien, that should not work. Ask which movie, okay, this is better. Doesn't understand that Alien is a movie, in this case, and we just ask which movie. And if I try to answer Alien, we say which movie, until decide that is, I don't understand anymore. So you can try here, and you can create as many intents you want. Here we have another intent, this is the runtime. What's the play time, how long the movie is, etc., etc. And also here is the name of the movie is mandatory, and if it's not, we'll ask you, and the answer is static as well. And a schedule for showing in theater or cinemas, where you also have an intent that is the date. Sunday, Wednesday, today, Friday, Monday, tomorrow, etc. Different variation of the same sentence. In this case, movie is mandatory, but the date is not. So you can assume that if it's not, it's today. And here there are the answers. Again, static and fake. And then you have the entities, the custom entities. Well, the system entities are done. You have many of them. Because they need to be used first. You have cities, you have system date time, etc. And then you can create your own. And here is the movie entities that represent a number of movies that I manually inserted, which Alien is not one of them. And that's why it's not working, but I can add Alien. I can say save. It will think a little bit. It will say entity saved. And then, if I try again, what's the genre of Alien? This time, it works. It works with, again, a random genre, but it recognizes that Alien is a movie. And you can export these from the settings. Export a zip, the one that you have in the folder, at the link, and restore and import from zip, that is upload the zip here, and we'll create an agent that is this one, exactly this one. Okay? So this is Dialogflow. This is the essential version. That is the free version that everyone with a Google account can use. Advantages of this with respect to ChatGPT is that you have full control, but and the disadvantage is that you have to insert a lot of things manually, but you have full control. You want to talk about movies, that will only talk about movies, will not talk about anything else that are not movies, or the things you decided to talk about. And you have fine control on everything, which are the sentences admitted, which are the answer admitted, etc. And then you can also link these to a real database of movies, weather forecasting, but not from the the web interface. You have to do it in code, which is slightly more complicated and is not in this example for this reason. But for this course, it's fine if you use this with the predefined answer giving reasonable predefined answers. Also because you will have the control to demonstrate your conversational agent, so just not put comedy if you plan to use Titanic as a movie. In the case it's a movie. Okay, this is one. The other one, which is linked as well in the slide, and you need this API key. You got the step-by-step and the API key, this client secret here, which is just the things you download from Google. You put it there, you call it client secret, and you have done. You have done, plus you need to change the name of the Google project. Let me zoom out. No. You have to change the name of the Google project, which is here. So this label, movie agent minus whatever, is something that creates Dialogflow, where you create or import an agent, and it tells you directly in the Dialogflow page, which is this name, and you just have to copy and paste that name from the web to here, and then add that file, and it works without any other changes if you like this this chat-based interface. And again, tomorrow and next week, there will be Tommaso also helping if you need. Let me show you the other one. The other one is using ChatGPT, the OpenAI API. And again, there is a simple software which is available at this link. You need to use this to create a developer account. If you have a ChatGPT account, it's not enough. You have to create a developer account to platform.openai.com, or if you use it, you can use that. It needs an API key, which needs money behind it. Up to last year or 1.5 years ago, if you created a new developer account, they will give you some free credits. I don't think that is anymore. But if you want to do it, we can generate, and you use it only for this project, for this course, we can generate an API key for the groups who wants to use it and give it to you. Both Tommaso and I can. So I generated one for the demo purpose. I can then delete it. And to get the API key, here there are the instructions to get and create the API key in case you have your own version of the developer account on OpenAI. Now, let me show you how that works. Here it's similar in the API keys in this file app.py is written there. Is not on GitHub. Is not on the link. You cannot use my API key. It's just on my computer. In the version online, you have insert your API key here. So no problem. I'm not going to open app.py because it's video recorded. So this launches Python app.py. And we'll give you which address, which is 0. And this is different predefined user interface. You can also personalize it a little bit. I think I changed the color to this orange. And you have a chat from one side and a reply to the answer. And so we can ask what's the genre of Alien. ChatGPT should know what is Alien. And the genre Alien is science fiction horror, which is more realistic. Good. And we also ask about Titanic. and the romance, drama, but we can also ask everything about movies again. What's the cast of Titanic? That will be a little bit longer. Includes, among others, will not be the full list. Okay? And if we try to ask about something is not about movies, which is not written this way. Is still, given that it's ChatGPT, can know the answer, well, is able to answer, correctly or not. For how I created this, I told them that is specialized in movies, and he cannot talk about anything else which is not movies. So if I ask anything else that is not movie, the answer would be I'm specialized in movies. Let me know if you have any movie-related questions. And if you look at it it's very simple. How you personalize this topic is very simple. You don't have all the interface of Dialogflow. You just have I'm not opening the file again, but it's here. So there is just one line at the beginning. Here, messages, which would be, this is the prompt. It could be as complicated as you want. This is just very minimal. That is, you are an AI specialized in movie. Do not answer anything other than movie-related queries. So if you want to talk about the weather, just replace weather with movies. Or other topics, and then this could be more complicated, more longer. You don't always only need to speak about children movies, not other. Or if the answer is for unsuitable for children, don't provide the answer. So you can complicate the prompt as you wish, and it's just there. And everything else, well, there's the model. You can change the model. In this case, it's ChatGPT GPT-3.5, which is old, but for talking about movies, it's fine, etc., etc. Or everything else is coherent. This is Chat with AI. This is the title that appears here, so you can personalize it as well, etc. But this interface, which is already done, I didn't do it, has just a box on the left for asking about things, and a box on the right to get an answer about the things you ask for. Again, simple, minimalistic in a way, but does demonstrate what it needs to demonstrate. Also, this is in the repository. It works except for the API key that you need for. Okay, any question on this? Well, here there are references if you want more information. There are slides, video lectures on voice user interface, on the web, etc., just as a reference. Any question about this? Otherwise, I will present you the exercise. You will start tomorrow, and then we will wrap up. Yes? There's a Pro feature, which that means you need ChatGPT Pro.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can use the API.
Okay, I don't know it as well. But if you need the Pro version, maybe not everyone has the Pro version as well. And then the API is separate. You can also have the free version and put $2, and probably it's more than enough than you need. But again, if you plan to use ChatGPT, we can, for this course, for this week, basically, this week and next week, we can give you an API key that we will delete at the end of the course, so you will not, you cannot continue to use it for your own business. Okay. So these are two ways of doing it. Actually, one thing I didn't mention, but let me go back to Dialogflow, is that Dialogflow has its own also interface which is not this one here. No? Oh, integration. Web demo. Which it doesn't like, but okay. Okay, just for a moment, just to show you the web demo. Okay. Might be temporarily down, it might move permanently. Okay. It had a user interface here where you can also do, but apparently it doesn't work now. But it was like a chat here, like Telegram, WhatsApp style, and you can write here, it there. But it seems not working. So. Good. Then, exercise for tomorrow. Actually, you can start thinking about it today for a small part. So just remember the goal. The final goal of this exercise, and the course also, is to design and implement an interactive prototype. So it should be incomplete. It will be with saying that Titanic is a comedy and stuff like that. Is a prototype. You want to demonstrate your point for a conversational agent. It should be vocal and or textual, or mainly vocal and textual. It's up to you, to your group. The answer would be fake. Again, it's fine. It's fine if it doesn't look for a weather forecasting and give you the right answer, if it's about the weather, because it's a prototype in the end. So you have a series of steps that you start tomorrow and will continue. So step 0 is something you can do from today until tomorrow, is choose your specialty. So decide what the conversational agent should be able to do. It's about the weather, it's about the movie, where is the intelligence? Should be in the conversational part mostly, which is the topic, the idea, problem to be solved. Like our conversational agent will support children to do something. Support someone to do something. Help someone to do something. Help a PhD student to book a trip for their conference travel. Something. And put it in a slide. Okay, that's step 0. You can do it tomorrow. You can start thinking your group just today. Then tomorrow, you also have step 1, which is design the conversational interface, again, in a slide, trying to answer similar question that we have seen in the previous slide. Which dialogue? Will the answer be textual, vocal, both, with a screen, how to recover from error, which is the tone of the conversation. Will be friendly, will be assertive, will be angry, will be kind, how many details will give you, etc. And which human AI interaction guideline from the previous lecture will follow and or ignore because they don't apply, and why. That's tomorrow. You can use also this. It's again a link to the human interaction guideline you have seen for help. Step 2, from tomorrow until next Tuesday, is implement the prototype. The main functionality, the main conversation, 1 or 2, because it's just 1 week, it's not 1 month. You can use Dialogflow, the OpenAI API. You can start from example shown in class. If you know other things, you can use other things as well. But you have to create an interactive prototype. And then step 3, on the 18th, which is the last day of the course, which is next Wednesday, you will, in group, present your prototype and the underlying idea, the problem it's solving, supporting people to do something, in 10 minutes here, or whatever we are. So with a big screen where you show, you put together a slide prepared, so you can describe your process. You can add, you should add a couple of screenshots, screen recording of your conversational agent, prepare a short demo, so you can show to us and to your colleagues what your conversational agent does. And this preparation, then connect your laptop to the projector, and we'll present slides, screenshots, and the demo in 10 minutes, plus any questions from us. And step 4, after the 18, pick your slide, convert them in PDF, and submit to this link, like you did for the first 2 assignments. That will be the 3rd assignment done. And the submission of the 3rd assignment that you will present the day before, the next Wednesday in class. So from tomorrow up to the 18th, what you have to do is think about a prototype, what it should be done, for whom, solving which problem, design the conversation using the guideline to help you and guide you, the one that you have seen last week, and then implement it in some way so that you can have a demonstration to show here. It will be a prototype, it will be simple, it will be self-contained, it will not talk about everything. You will want to talk about a couple of topics. Maybe we'll talk about, if it's a movie, we'll talk about the genre and the schedule, but not about everything about the movie. And you can use either the software application that are linked in the slides. And again, from tomorrow, Tommaso will be also here in these 2 + 2 hours to help you if you have any struggle with the technical aspects to make it run. But first, decide and design what should be done, and then put them together so that it works in some way for a specific topic and problem. And these slides are online, so you can also refer to them directly. So tomorrow with Tommaso, you will start without the presentation of the slides, because done today, immediately working on this stuff, continuing on the 17th, and ending on the 18th with the presentation, which we may not need the entire 2 hours, so you may also, we need to count the groups, but you may also have some time on the 18th to finish maybe the slides or some final touches to it. Okay? Any question about this? Good. So have fun from tomorrow, and I will be here for the presentation, so on the 18th, but tomorrow and on 17th, there will be Tommaso with you. And with that, have a nice rest of the afternoon and a good evening. And see you on the 18th with me.